you've written your show in a garret. You've, it's important, it tells the story. You've shown it to a couple of friends who say, oh, this is the real thing. Now what do you do? So, who wants to talk about that? PJ, where did you start yours?
Matt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I had a friend, the first day I went to William Esper, I sat down, I took a summer program, I was sweating, I was late, and there was a guy sitting next to me, and I said, I'm sorry, I'm going to be sweating for a while for this. And he goes, don't worry about it. He goes, why are you here? And I said, well, I got a story to tell. I'm a comedian, I don't have the ability to talk seriously to an audience. I know that's like crap, I have to really learn that. And he didn't go continue at school, he just stayed there, but he happened to take Matt's class, and he said, he called me up and said, I remember you saying, you gotta meet this guy, you gotta go meet this guy. So I went and watched his show, and unbeknownst to me, he was HIV positive, and I had no clue. So he unraveled this thing in me, and at the end I was just in tears. And we lived close to each other when I lived in DC, and this story really got me. So he's like, well, you got to talk to Matt. And I went in to Matt, and I said, I got all these real cool things that I've done in my life, and people tell me I need to write a book and stuff like that. I'll be showing off, oh, I worked in the White House, I toured with Larry, so it's like, ugh, so, and I said it was really important because I feel like I know why. I know why I want to do this, and then he kind of helped me down the road of getting there, and then eventually I found my director, Dion Flynn, and we just really, for 90 hours, went into a room together, back and forth, just taking every piece of my life and throwing it, the hate, the anger, the this, everything, the heartbreak, everything, and just filtered through it, and then decided what stays on the railroad tracks, what is going towards exactly where you're going, and it was, a really, really long process, but it started with Matt.
So you meet people at the developmental stage, and I guess take them to the next stage.
Right. I mean, most people come to me and they know that they have a story to tell, and they want to create a solo show. So in my classes, they create that solo show. But I think the focus of the panel is talking about and then producing it. And what PJ then did was he did a show in the New York International Fringe Festival. Yeah. And many of my students do that. They aim for either the Fringe Festival or the Midtown Festival. There's a lot of them here. Or other festivals. And one of the questions that we were talking about backstage was, and sometimes people say that, should I be producing it on my own or should I do one of these festivals? And I think we were saying, I think it's great to do a festival because if you're producing it on your own, you get to keep all the money, you have a little more control, you can have more performances. But if you're doing it in a festival, you're part of something where you're going to benefit from all the marketing they do. There's a value in having been chosen to be part of that festival. So in the way, how movies say official selection of the Sundance Film Festival or whatever, if you've been in the Fringe or the Midtown, that's a great thing. People go to see them because they know it's been curated in some way, that there's been an application process. And although there's 200 shows in the Fringe, I mean, hundreds and hundreds more apply and don't get in. So there's that feeling of oh, they got in, I'll go see it.
And producers go see the Fringe.
And producers go see the Fringe, exactly.
Did you not?
There was a whole panel earlier on producing your stuff in the Fringe Festival and stuff. So I don't think we should get too much into that. You guys can watch that online if you weren't there. They're going to be posting all these online eventually.
Yeah, I mean, I have I'm coming from a very different perspective. I think whenever you're choosing how to present your show, you have to have a reason for each step. And sometimes people participate in Fringe festivals or something just to get the show up and see what they have. You may not want other people to see it. You may just want to see it for yourself, get some experience. It seems like everybody here has some experience, so you've done that already, and maybe now it's the next step. But before you go into any performance, you need to know why. So you need to know who to invite, get them in advance, and that's what we talk about a little bit later. But just the assumption that if you do a show in a festival, or even if you produce your own show in an off-Broadway or off-Broadway setting, that's going to be the magic, is sort of like saying, if I show up for an interview, I'm going to get hired. You have to do the work ahead of time to promote yourself. And whether that work is getting someone to work with you to help you do that, or the whole process of being in the business and creating relationships and networking.
Well, let's take Unframed as an example. I mean,
Sure.
here you are, right? We've got some people who've self-produced their shows, who've midwife shows, right, and tell people where to go with it. But you're, you know, you've produced on Broadway and you're producing here in the AFO. So what happened? How did?
Well, as actually the very first show I ever produced was a solo show, and we did the festival show, festival circuit. But I'm part of an organization called TRUE, Theater Resources Unlimited. If you don't know about it, you should know about it. And I ran a part of the program that's called the Producer Development and it's got a new name now, Producer Development and Mentorship Program. But once a year, there's a pitching session, and someone who had just joined the program, who was a director and a self-producing artist, was pitching a show he was directing. It was called Self-Portrait, and it was about this guy who came here from another country, and he paints a portrait while he's telling a story. And it was just different and funky enough that I asked for a script. And that show is now what's called Unframed and what will be here tomorrow. And that's sort of how it all began. But as part of the process, and this is, you know, caveat, I am one producer and everybody does things a little bit differently. But for me, with a solo show, what makes it so different than any other show is when you're signing on to the author of the show, the playwright of the show, you're also signing on 99% of the time to the performer. So it's a little bit difficult to judge just based on the script. You also, it's really beneficial to be able to see the artist perform in some format. So if you have some sort of relationships ahead of time and you can say, I'm performing here, that's a good step. And that's kind of what happened. I met Brent and Ayaba. We had a beer at a cafe in the village, and I thought he was really charming. There were parts of the script that frankly, just, you know, upset me in some way, which you'll understand if you see the show. And I explained to him that it was okay for people to get upset, but I didn't think it was, I thought it took away from his story. And if they ever did a reading, please let me know. And so they scheduled a reading conveniently at a time when I was available, about 2.5 weeks later. And when I went to see the show, I was getting to the part of the script and I was sort of cringing, and it never happened. And it was changed in a way that didn't take away from what was being said, just how it was said, and I was blown away by that. And my number one, will I work with someone, is will they work with me? And it was first of all, it was 2 weeks later, and he did the show off book. It was a complete performance, sets and everything. And what they had done was listen to what I said and incorporated it into making the play better. And so that sealed the deal for me. We talked for the next 2 or 3 months about various types of opportunities that might occur, how we view the process, how we view the script, and then, you know, signed a deal, we started performances.